it short. We probably still have more questions than answers, but that's life, right? That's what we do. Learn, lifelong learners. So again, before we kick off the meeting, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag led by Councilmember Luke Potts. The Texas Pledge will be led by Director of Development Services Bob Van Til, and then Dave Covington will give our invocation. Please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to the Jesus, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Please bow with me. Father, we love you. We thank you for the beautiful weather. Thank you for the grace and the privilege that we have to live here in Belton, Texas. Pray that you give us wisdom tonight as we consider the business of the city. Pray special blessings and protection over our service members who are protecting us every day and our first responders. We thank you most of all for your son, Jesus. In his name, amen.
Amen. Right. This meeting of the City Council of the City of Belton is called to order at 5:37 p.m. on Tuesday, March 24th. The first item is public comments. If anyone wishes to address the council for anything that we have any purview over, they may do so. I have two people that have signed up, and one of them is on an agenda item and the other one is not. So I'll call the one, and then also if you didn't sign up, you still have an opportunity to make public comments. So the first one that I have signed up is Mr. Bailey, Clinton Bailey. Name and address for the record. When you get to the microphone, so she knows how to do the note.
Clinton Bailey, 445 Bella Rose, Belton. Yeah, Mayor, Council people. I'm just here to celebrate the event that we had with the CTBR, which is the Central Texas Barbecue Roundup that we had over the weekend. We had brought in almost 15,000 people that either attended, competed, that attended the event. The event was free, cost the taxpayers $0. And then so I just want to say thank you to the city. We had a lot of city employees that volunteered. We had the Belton Police Department, the Belton Fire Department CERT team, the Belton Education Foundation, and the Belton's Lion Club. So it was an all-day event. Everybody had a good time. There's some good barbecue. And at the end of it, we got to show them what Belton was all about, family and community. So as we continue to build this over the next 5 years, we expect the economic impact of Belton to be positive. So again, we just want to say thank you to the city of Belton and everyone that participated.
Thank you very much, Clinton.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great event. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be there, but I saw some great pictures. Saw a pig on a spit with an apple to boot. It was something else. So next year, put it on your calendar. Anyone else wish to make a public comment before we go on to our agenda? All right, there being no more public comments, we've got we have a recognition first. So Assistant Director of Finance Amanda Cox for receiving her Certified Government Financial Officer designation. Mike and Sam.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you all. Appreciate you coming up very much. Mayor and council members, thank you very much for this opportunity. It's always our pleasure to recognize educational achievement among our employees. And today we want to recognize Amanda for an amazing accomplishment. The Certified Government Finance Officer Program is sponsored by GFOA of Texas. It was established to set a threshold of knowledge for governmental finance officers. To obtain this certification, the applicant must meet a 375-point requirement through a combination of academic credentials, professional experience, and exam scores, and just a tremendous amount of testing and confirmation of their excellence in these areas. Applicants are tested over a broad range of governmental finance topics, including accounting and financial reporting, budgeting and planning, cash management, debt administration, and public finance. Mike and I are very, very pleased to grant this award, recognize Amanda for this significant achievement, which is being utilized, I will say, in the budget efforts that are underway right now. As a matter of fact, even today, we had another session on some of our departments. We're really excited to award this presentation to Amanda. And I also want to add that Amanda is one of only 156 Level 3 certified municipal court clerks in the state of Texas, in addition to the financial background that she provides. So we're excited to do this. We really want to recognize her and give her this award. And please join me in congratulating Amanda Cox.
So this lady next to me has done everything in the finance building. And done it superbly. It's being a level 3 municipal court clerk is quite the accomplishment on its own. But being the overachiever that Amanda is, she decided to get a CGFO as well. You have an amazing here, and appreciate all that you do.
And what do you go? Speech.
All right. Next on our agenda is a consent agenda. These two items can be enacted by a single motion. So I'll save some time and go ahead and read them, and we can enact these two. The first one is adopting the minutes of the previous two meetings, the March 10th council workshop and the March 10th council meeting, and also appointment to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, recommending Ben Burnett as an alternate to fill the unexpired term of Garrett Smith, and removing Martina Martinez as an alternate, as she has not responded. So those items 4 and 5 can be enacted by one motion.
Move we approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Motion is second to approve the consent agenda. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Items, planning and zoning. Hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from commercial highway to planned development commercial 2 on approximately half an acre located at 400 West Avenue O. Ms. Moore.
And thank you. Good evening, council members. This property is off of Avenue O. It is on the south side of Interstate 14. And you can see where Avenue O is on the map, and it's just south of that area next to, actually it is east of Connell Road. This originally started out as a shop. However, the applicant has indicated that is no longer the case, but tire shops are not allowed in commercial highway. They're permitted in commercial 1. Applicant is requesting commercial 2 to allow for more flexibility for future tenants to move into that space. However, we are requesting a condition because of outdoor and open storage. As you can see from the site, the building is located at the rear of the property, and most of the storage will be in the front. So we're requesting for a street view that would be screened as part of this PD. The future land use map showed this as a commercial retail. Water and sewer are provided by the city. Property owner notices were sent out. There were no letters for or against this proposal. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this at their meeting on March 17th, last week. Sorry, lost time there. And they recommended approval of this zoning change. Again, with that, staff is requiring the following subject condition. Development must comply with all of the standards of the commercial 2. A final subdivision plat is required should there be a new future buildings. Screening should be provided for open storage. Applicant is here. Should you have any questions for him? And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have as well.
Thank you. This being a public hearing, we'll close our deliberation and open the floor for anyone who wishes to comment on this item, either positive or negative. Anyone who wishes to speak for or against item 6 may do so at this time. There being no public comments, we'll close the floor and reopen deliberations on this item. Comments or questions from the council?
What type of screening?
There is an existing chain link fence. The applicant is looking at attaching either slats into that area or maybe another way of screening that to the existing chain link fence.
Chair would entertain a motion.
I move we approve item C-24.
Second.
Motion second to approve the zoning change on item 6. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Right. Looks like you got a couple more. Item number 7, hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from single family 3 to planned development, single family 3 on approximately 35 acres located at East Avenue R, east of Miller Street, and known as the Hidden Trails Subdivision Phase 2.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. This request is to change the single family 3 request to allow for a minimum lot width of 45 instead of the required 50. The applicant has provided a site plan of what that would look like. The original proposal is for 157 lots. With the reduced width, that would allow for 177 lots in this area, addition of 20 more lots in this area. The proposed depth of the lots are 120, which then are required 90 foot for single family 3. With that, that will leave the lot size over our required 5,000. It'll be 5,400 square feet. What they're proposing is their typical lot. It is about 35 and 60 foot deep for the lots. With this PD, staff is recommending that they add some masonry standard to the front of the building, a 50% requirement for that. So the view that you see up there does not have that requirement, but that's a condition that we're recommending for approval. Proposed setbacks will be same as single family 3, 25 in the front yard, 5 along the side, and 20 in the rear yard. Future land use map show this as residential. Water and sewer is provided by Belton, and property owner notices were sent out. We did receive 1 letter of opposition for this. Cost for that is increased traffic and for the area. With this Planning and Zoning Commission heard this, and they recommended approval of this. This is a unique site. It is an infill project. We certainly don't want to entertain this for any other development, but because there are some challenges with this infill project, it's mainly drainage that they're repairing. Staff is hesitant, but we're recommending approve this change. Others that will require this will also have to come before the commission and demonstrate why that is necessary. And again, we are not looking to change our single family 3 standards, any other property, but because this is a unique property, recommending approval. This initially started as a 40-foot wide lot. We worked with the applicant to increase the width to 45.
Okay.
And applicant is here. Should you have any questions for them? And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have as well.
All right. Again, this being a public hearing, we will close our deliberations and open the floor. If anyone wishes to speak for or against this item, they may do so. I do have one that signed up, so that since they signed up, I'll let them go first. Dale Janda. Name and address for the.
Good evening. My name is Dale Yonda,
Yonda,
address 3515 HK Dodge and Loop in Temple. Just wanted to speak about the lot width and basically kind of today I spent some time looking at historically what I've done. I'm with DR Horton. I'm with the home builder DR Horton. I was going through some history here recently and just going over historical information. I went through and our average sales price, and this is just in the Temple, Killeen, Belton area. The average sales price today is right at $275,000. And what's not included is we're buying down rates at this point to get the rates down, which is around 17,000. So without that, you're looking at a $293,000 average home price in our area. I went back to 2020. That average price was $229 on an average square footage of 2104. The average square footage is 1,800 square feet. If you go back to 2019 before COVID, that average sales price was $216. So I just wanted to, and I can speak on my son. He just recently bought a house. He graduated from college. He lived with us for a year and a half to save up some money, and was able to buy a house in Gerald at $277,000. He was fortunate enough to us help him in that situation, but there's a lot of people out there that do not have that have that help to get them into a what I would consider a starter home. We paid at my personal house, we paid less than that. But this was 20 years ago, but almost a 3,000 square foot house, we paid less than that than what he had to pay for a 1,400 square foot house. My point is, anything we can do to help the workforce that would not normally be able to afford what used to be a starter home. Now we're having to look at ways to reduce costs for these folks. And my ask is that you would consider these 45-foot lots, because that would, what our average sales price, we could get to 224, which I think is more attainable for the people we're talking about. We're talking about police, teachers, those folks that couldn't afford otherwise. So that's the goal that we want to achieve for the folks here locally. And I appreciate you taking that into consideration, and I appreciate your time this evening.
Anyone else wish to speak in favor or in opposition? Again, name and address for the record.
Name is Larry Wintercheck, 13980 Settlement Road, Salado, Texas. I'm with First Texas Brokerage, Real Estate in Salado. I've been a realtor, been in real estate one form or another since 1978. In the Bell County area since about 2010. Want to address the same issue, affordability. It's just getting harder and harder for first-time home buyers and what I like to call last-time home buyers, folks that are downsizing, looking to buy that house. That'll be the last house. The cost is getting out of hand. And so anything, I would just like to see any effort that can be made to help bring down that cost. Lot size, the lot size can reduce that price to some degree, as he addressed. And so I'm just speaking from the standpoint of a local realtor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak in favor or in opposition to?
Lena Chite, I'm with Belton Engineering. Address is 410 North Main Street, Belton, Texas. So I just want to speak to some of the challenges that we've had with this infill development. I want to list the items that we've done so far, which is we had to extend sewer on site for we had to get an offsite easement and extend sewer for about 240 feet, and about 1,000 feet of that had to be dug at 16 to 18 feet deep in rock, so which made it somewhat challenging. We had to do an offsite street improvements for close to 300 feet for Avenue W and Avenue S. Due to existing drainage issues within Liberty Hill and the undersized culverts under Liberty Hill Drive, we have two major drainage channels within this development. One of them is 1,300 feet long that crosses the entire property from east to west and is 50 feet wide. Another that's 600 feet long on the east side behind Liberty Hill, that is 25 feet wide as well. So with phase two, and if you are able to consider this and help us move forward with this, we will also be building, improving Olita Street for about more than 240 feet of Olita Street will be improved. We are also looking at building a sidewalk that goes from Avenue S all the way to the splash park. And we think that this is reasonable request for that infill area that's been somewhat challenging to develop and improve. And I also wanted to talk about the roads. So we have 6 roads proposed within phase 2. And if you look at the total trees, it adds between 2 to 4 driveways per street. So that's the increase we have. And I'm to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. All right, anyone else wish to speak in favor or in opposition to this item? All right, there being no more public comments, we will close the floor and reconvene the council. Comments, questions, or motion?
I appreciate your input. Speaking of realities, I totally understand. When we talk about realities, though, the narrower the front of the lot gets, is less room to people park cars on the street. We know what's going to happen. It's reality. We're talking about realities. We also know garages get full. So my concern with narrow lots, most of these streets meander, so they're not straight. Cars are straight, curves are not. Is there any desire to potentially make the setback 25 from 25? Because I know the plans that I've seen, the preliminaries, they're not on the building line, but I know when we get to it, there might be a house on the building line. Is there potential to make those set back farther so you can fit more cars in a driveway? Would be my question to council members slash. But
I think, so I think what we'll do is we'll have our debate, because I don't want to have discussion from floor to here.
Oh, yeah, this is
Yeah, so this
question
is-
to council.
So we'll do that, and if we come up to with a consensus.
Really council slash staff.
Yeah.
On this
Yeah.
part. So that's my, like, is there a precedent here? Because like we've heard realities, and we know this is a reality. Like my lot is I think a 60-foot lot. I can fit 2 cars on the street on one side of the driveway and one on the other. You're not necessarily going to get that here on a 25-foot driveway. If they're set on the building line, one, maybe 2, if they're small cars. Just trying to really picture what's going to happen, because I know with cost of housing, family size, teenagers, people living in homes longer, with parents is all reality type stuff. So
I spoke to the applicant earlier today, asked about whether or not there was a willingness to that. She also mentioned that those right of way is not fully developed. 31 foot of pavement, curb and gutter for the right of way. So there is additional area that there was improvements on that people can park on. What is available with the 25 and the right of way area, 2 vehicles, back-to-back vehicles can be parked there to fit some of you that concern. But usually the problem is someone has to go to work earlier and then they need to be able to back up. So there's still on-street parking that will likely occur, but there is accommodation to fit 4 vehicles in the driveway.
If I'm not mistaken, there's HOA regulations as well that won't allow for on-street parking.
That is correct. There are HOA regulations in this area.
And
it's
so
not that I just
potentially,
want parking on the street. I just wanted to ensure there's enough space to
I think that
fit.
it's allowed either way, whether they.
so in
want to or
theory,
not.
I'm guessing it's a 2-car garage, so you can have 6 cars off of the road.
Yeah, I guess so the 25 is from
The property line,
the solid line.
the property line,
Got
correct.
it. Okay. How wide's that easement between curb and, is it
Usually
10?
about 9-10 feet.
Okay. 10.
I'd say it's to go to a different topic. I'm going to say on that topic, I do feel like if you can fit 6 cars there and there's an HOA regulation that you can't park on the street, I would say what they have seemed reasonable. But also I do appreciate the fact when it comes to affordable housing, I feel like ever since I've been plugged in to council way back when, ever since I started on ZBA 13 years ago, we hear so many people say we need to work on affordable housing, and what are we going to do for affordable housing, and this, in this infill, small infield project, I feel like it's a great thing to be able to do that, and an action we can take actually take an action on that issue. So
We don't, it's not a public hearing anymore. Yeah, so I'm sorry. If we have any questions, we'll end of the discussion.
yeah, so that's what it is.
I'll just tag team on that. I think, again, I've talked many times about affordable housing in our community and the lack thereof, the housing crisis our whole state is facing. So to see a development come into a challenging area and it be an infill with local developers that have invested in our community before, and the quality of the project, I'm pretty excited to see an opportunity come that may actually give us some of that need for our community that struggle to buy a home. So I think the parking was a good concern and question. And I think the fact that we understand there's HOA regulations that don't allow the on-street parking and there's room for 6 cars. And I know the parking in front and behind each other is a challenge, but that's really not up to us to decide on that. I really like the quality of the project, and I drove through the area, looked at it. I think it's a big need for our community.
I'm a little concerned over the narrower lots and increased density. I just know that that has in the past created some problems in some areas. We haven't allowed that before. Our maximum is 50 feet and going down to 45 and increasing the density in that area. I think there's just may be some difficulty. And we're sure that the HOA will not allow on-street parking. Is that right? That's a plus for you.
Our HOA, for example, is no overnight parking. Just for
one's
reference, so.
I think we also need to remember we've got a state legislature that's working really hard to make it where we don't have a choice on lot sizes.
We're not there yet.
No, we're not. But I think being flexible and meeting need and demand of our community and getting creative with housing, which we have talked about. When you have something quality like this come about, asking for so little, that it's just my 2 cents there, that I think we need to take advantage of those when they come along and be a little flexible so that our community can afford to live here.
I very much agree with that. Is it? Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Z2601 as presented.
I'll second, just so you can go on with discussion.
Yeah, so motion is second to approve the zoning change as suggested. Any more discussion comments before we vote?
I'm also concerned about the decrease in the lot sizes. I think, just to echo what John said, that you come up with a number of problems: parking, policing, trash pickup. Is there a way that we can no street parking with a plat?
Yes, sir, we can add that as a condition on the plat. But again, enforcement of that is really hard, I gotta say. To say no parking, but it certainly can be added on the plat.
And development.
Added to the plat, it could be added to the making sure it's in the HOA, and then also could be signed. Developer could be responsible for signing it as no parking on the street as well. Again, parking enforcement is a challenge. It always will be, but signage would certainly help.
And I think in the plat would be a good addition as well. And have a feeling it'll still remain in the HOA. So you get more policing on something like that than you would normally with plat restriction only. I don't know.
I don't know if
Question.
police can enforce HOA.
No, I'm just saying they may have double
Sure.
type going on with an HOA and a plat restriction.
I don't know if this is gonna pass or not. I think if it does, it's very important to re-emphasize the point that this is not what I personally feel like we should move our standards to. Everything that we do up here has the potential to set a precedent, and I want to be very clear that if this passes, I hope that is not what happens.
I have a quick question. On other infill developments, what kind of changes or exceptions have we made? Because I know we have. So what, some other infill developments, what kind of exceptions have we made because of the difference of that being an infill and the challenges that may be unique to an infill project versus a
I'm sorry, there's only one project that comes to mind, and that is on Avenue R. We reduced the front yard setback. We also reduced the depth of the lot. They weren't able to meet the 100, so it was like 90 feet for the depth of the lots in that area. Also some reduction in the rear yard setbacks for that as well.
The challenging one. Developer, as Tina mentioned, originally proposed 40-foot lot widths. That really concerned us. The applicant was willing to reduce that to 45. And again, recognizing the situation in the area, we again reluctantly felt like that was acceptable. Again, the depth of the lots allow with 120 feet them to meet the 5,000 square foot lot minimum of the SF3 district. So the area of the lot is there. It's just the 5 foot short of the 50-foot minimum lot width. And so again, it's a compromise. That's certainly something to be carefully evaluated. We, as well as a staff, are concerned about precedent for a 45-foot lot generally. But the HOA commitment, elevation, which we cannot do under zoning typically, and then some of the other conditions that they've agreed to, again, approach something that perhaps may be acceptable through a PD. And so again, it's a judgment call, but they certainly have gone substantially toward trying to provide some neighborhood character, things that we could not do normally under the traditional zoning.
So there's always tension in not always, but there usually where there's planning and zoning and neighbors and opinions, there comes tension. I think generally speaking, most people would say we'd love to have the highest and best use, which is what one of the things that with zoning, and highest and best use would be 3-acre lots with $4 million homes. That's highest and best use. The reality is your community will not look like the community it is, and we wouldn't have what we have today. And so I think that when we sit there and look at the balance between highest and best use, 4 million homes on acres of lots versus infill development where it's affordable for people to work and live, there becomes a tension. With that is parking, with that is storage, lack of storage, and where the storage goes on street. I think Beale is a perfect example of a place where we probably didn't have enough regulation, and now we've got near a railroad track, fairly narrow, and everything's in the yard and on the. And I think that's where the tension lies with us as we debate this: is what does the development look like, not tomorrow, but in 20 years. That being said, we do need affordable homes, and affordable homes don't have as much space to park the stuff and to have the stuff. And in many cases, you end up having multiple families living in a single house in order to afford it, which requires more cars than normal. And so we try to manage that tension where if we can make it affordable for a single home, then you actually have maybe less. And so, and the last part of the tension is the way we do council. We don't get to call each other and talk about issues. You get to see it in front of the public. So this is not a public meeting in the sense that we meet with the public. This is a public meeting where we get to meet amongst the public and you guys get to witness us try to make a consensus or a decision. And part of that is because of open meetings and regulations, we have a public portion and then we have a council portion. So there's not a debate. And so I know it always feels, if you've not been to council meetings, it's always, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. And we're not doing it for anything other than this is the way that we're regulated. That being said, I think there are concerns about the parking in this area. I think more than just multiple exits out. There are, once they get out of this subdivision, there are ways that they can wayfind around the community. It's infill is always better for the community because services don't have to be extended. So would there be willingness, I guess generally the consensus is there willingness, I don't know if it would be passed, that you would be okay with parking restrictions to allow that to be part of the plat or not. I think that's the general consensus. I don't know. Yeah, if you don't mind, yeah.
So I think what would be easier to control would be maybe like overnight parking, because yeah, HOA will, the idea of having HOA in that community is to keep the aesthetic of that community for 20 years from now, not just while homes are getting built. So, but we can definitely work with staff on plat comments to come before you for approval as well.
So, okay, thank you.
The addition of a condition of no overnight parking, is that what? what we're
I think,
proposing?
yeah, I think that's the no on-street. Yeah, no on-street, yeah. Well, and she said she's willing to work with staff, so that means, we would have to, if we chose to do that, we would have to fail this motion and then, move, to table it, to postpone it to a future meeting so she can meet with you guys on those kind of comments. Is that something?
That I raised the concerns about parking.
Yep.
But it's also a pretty big precedent if we start doing this.
Yeah.
And I don't know, personally, I don't know that that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
I think it's a valid option, but I don't know if we've ever done that in the past. And I mean, persons, and then to density, I mean, yes, they are asking for 45, but I think their lot size is 5,400 square feet, which is 400 more than our current minimum requirement of 5,000. And so I think as much as I do have concerns about it, I think it's a pretty big give. They could have found ways to squeeze them tighter, but it's personally how I feel.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve this item as is. The chair would entertain either a motion or we will vote.
I mean, as a PD, it does feel like we should add something about parking. And I don't know if that's overnight parking or all parking. What?
I think based on the lawyer's comments, Mr. Messer is, I think it would have, it would be prohibited or either strictly prohibited or it would just fall under the HOA, whatever those regulations.
Overnight, right?
And then I just had a quote. Tina, you did say we have in the past changed lot sizes, but it was this way, not this way. I would like to amend my motion to add a regulation for no on-street parking.
I'll second that.
Should a second to motion to restrict on-street parking. Any comments or questions about on-street parking? All in favor for amending the motion to require a restriction on street parking? Say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Right, so that is 4 to 2 that approved the amending of the motion. So now the motion that sits before us is to approve the zoning request for the plan development with the addition of a restriction of on-street parking as part of the PD. Any other comments or questions before we vote on that motion? There being none, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that passes 5-1. So plan development with restriction and on-street parking and everything else that was there. Right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sausage making, that's what they call government.
Sorry.
Hot jalapeno. All right. Item 8, hold a public hearing and consider a zone change from agriculture to commercial 2 on approximately 1 acres located at 704 East Loop 121. Ms. Tina.
Actually, this has been postponed indefinitely. It failed to pass for the Planning and Zoning Commission and the applicant decided not to appeal the decision.
You need action?
Yes, please.
Motion to postpone indefinitely.
Second.
Motion second to postpone indefinitely. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It passes 6-0. Item 9, consider a final plat for Burnett Edition Phase 2 comprising 0.9919 acres located on North Burnett Street, south of Greenway and north of West Fifth Avenue.
Thank you,
Tina.
Mr. Mayor. This property is located off of Burnett. It is on the west side of Burnett Drive, north of Greenway and south of West Fifth Avenue. It is close by the Harris Community Center. Here's the Harris Community Center on the map, and it's just a stone throw away from here. The applicant has approximately 1 acre, and they are looking to develop to meet the requirements for the new Imagine Belton standards. This property is in the transition zoning. However, the applicant wants to build single-family townhomes that will look like duplexes. They are allowed but must adhere to the neighborhood standard in the Imagine Belton district. City water and sewer services provided. Streets, Burnett is a local street, requires 50 feet of right-of-way. There's currently 40. The applicant will be dedicating 5 foot of right-of-way to make up for that lack. Access, there's one access that will go into that little alley that will service the area. Here's a site plan that shows what the applicant is looking at doing. Again, this is 14 lots, and it also has a track A that is a hammerhead for a fire truck and heavier vehicles to turn around in that area. There is a 20-foot easement, and actually that whole area is actually 30 foot because utilities are located in that area to service the homes. Actually, one more thing that came up during this review, the applicant, as you can see, they have a large rear yard. The Imagine Belton standards require 5 foot rear yard setback, but they're willing to modify that to 20 to allow for some privacy for the adjacent neighbors. Here's what the duplexes will look like. And with that, the Planning and Zoning Commission heard the meeting on the 17th and recommended approval of this with the following conditions. Approval of staff comment letters that stated February 20th, and also I've added that addition of the 20-foot rear yard setback for each of the lots. Applicant is here. Should you have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have as well.
All right, this is not a public hearing, so comments or questions from council?
Tina, can you go back to the site plan?
Sure thing.
For clarity, can you describe to us what, as we're looking at this, what's the front yard and what's the rear yard?
Yes, sir. So the front yard, the property line is right in the middle of this access road. The laser pointer.
Okay.
Okay. The property line, I had a pin, is in the middle of the access road. So the front yard is where the driveway spaces are that you can see. That will be the front yard. The rear yard is the back of the property on the other side of where that driveway space is. Actually, I apologize. That's reversed. The applicant plans on the parking in the rear yard. Or is that correct? The parking in the front yard, but pedestrian access is in front of the rear yard? Apologize. So pedestrian access to the homes will be coming in from the bottom side, but the front yard setbacks are from here to here.
So there's no street facing front door basically, because
The front doors will be facing the opposite side, if I am
That's
remembering correctly.
What are the little, you drew, huh?
Trees.
The tree, but you
Landscaping.
drew a line saying pedestrians would enter there. What just?
Sidewalks for pedestrian access from what I've seen before. And I apologize, I'm looking at the applicant to confirm. Is that correct?
Gotcha.
Come up, please.
It's Curtis Eichenloff, 510 Creekside Drive in Belton. The townhomes would be facing the road. They will have garages and you'll have driveways. You'll be coming in off of that street.
Okay. All right. So the driveway, so the picture that was shown that does not show a garage would not be.
That is a different type of duplex we build.
Gotcha.
That's the wrong picture.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Understood.
Apologize, that's
Thank
what was
you.
provided.
Thank you.
so that shows 30 feet from center of the alley.
So 20 feet from back of curb. to front
Yeah, I
door.
got,
to-
yeah. But this is all neighborhood or Imagine Belton stuff, so it's
It's
kind of,
Imagine Belton.
kind of as is.
So the rear yard setback that I was referring to is from the back of the property. Again, there are adjacent neighbors and we just want, these are two-story townhomes. We just want to provide them a little bit of privacy.
And that's not on the plat that's in our packet.
That is not on the plat, but that will be added.
tonight.
Yes, sir.
And back on, since this is Imagine Belton, the zoning, what they're doing is allowed by right, but platting is something that's still required.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments or questions? Chair would entertain a motion.
I think I'm sorry, I do have one more question. So I wasn't clear on where the front door is. Is there a door on both sides of these duplexes, or is it on the bottom and top that are facing the road? It's facing the road and not the alley.
No, those are facing
Not
other
an alley.
houses.
Yeah.
There's houses on 3 sides.
Oh.
Yeah. There's an aerial map.
There's a front
Yeah.
door by the driveways, and there's a rear door in the backs
Okay,
of each townhome.
okay, that's fine. Thank you.
I'm sorry, you asked for an aerial view. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
My-
I appreciate it. Not good, sorry.
So
Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve this item as presented, including the 20-foot rear setback for each lot.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the plat on the North Burnett Street subdivision with a 20-foot rear setback. Any other comments or questions before we vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, item 10, consider a final plat for River Place Estates Phase 10 comprising approximately 57 acres located generally west of North Main Street and south of the Leon River.
Thank you
Christina.
again, Mr. Mayor. This plat proposes 63 single-family residential homes to be owned and maintained. Oh, wait, apologize. There are a couple lots. There are about 2 of them that are, you can see where they are. They're the landscape islands. Those will be owned and maintained by the HOA. The plat also includes a drainage and wildlife passage easement to be owned by the property owner. This property has entered into a Chapter 380 development agreement with the city to provide sewer services in this area. With that, there were some obligations that needed to be met. One of those restrictions were limitation of the lots to 214 lots, and also need for a private park and a greenbelt area as well. So this is one of 3 subdivisions that would come before you per their approved preliminary plat. Here is a look at some of the utilities in this area. Water and sewer are provided by the city of Belton. Sewer will be coming from across the street on Main from the Mystic River and extending Mystic River subdivision and extending to this phase to provide service. Water will be coming from the existing phases of River Place to provide services in this area. All streets in this area are local street. There's a 50-foot right of way. However, because of the density that's proposed, they are proposing a 28 feet pavement. The subdivision ordinance does allow for developers with a wider area, larger density to do a reduced pavement area. Access is limited in this area due to constraints from the layout. So the access will connect to the existing River Place subdivision in that area. Overall,
In which area that it's gonna access, which road is the?
From Sabine and also from Quell Run.
I can't see, is it?
So,
Okay, so there's those 2 that are shown are the ingress egress for that subdivision.
correct.
So there's 2. Okay,
They're-
thank you. I didn't know if they were hypothetical or if they were actual. Okay,
They're actual.
thank you.
Drainage plans have been reviewed by staff and is almost ready for approval. There's a couple comments. There is a 2-acre park that is proposed in a future phase 11. That will meet our parking land requirements and also comply with the agreement with the Chapter 380 agreement. Another positive note for this is no heritage trees will be removed in the subdivision. The applicant has gone above and beyond to try to save all the trees in this area. With that, staff is recommending approval of the River Place Phase 10 final plat with the condition staff comment letter dated 2/27. And I don't know why I have that there, but the platted zoning did vote to approve, to recommend approval of this final plat. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Again, no public hearing on this one. Any comments or questions from council?
I just had one question from a homeowner. Is the construction all going to be through the existing streets, or will there be a separate construction access? Do you know?
Because of the topos in this area, it will have to come from the existing streets.
That was just the only question I got from somebody.
I know this project's been in the works for months. Sewer access was such a major partnership project with the city and developer. I'm glad we're moving forward and look forward to I think it's 10, 11, and 12 for this. So unless any other discussion, I'd like to make a motion to approve it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 10. Any other comments or questions? Again, it's been a great project. Looking forward to it. It's been River Place is one of the developments that's really helped shape the character of who Belton is. And so we appreciate your partnership. It's been great to see it grow up as we have grown up. So
I'd like to add one thing. I know back whenever this came to us as a zoning item a year or more ago, there was concern from neighbors in River Place that the current subdivision only has 2 outlets onto 439, and this 63 lot subdivision would be into that. It's interesting because it's a continuation of a development that's been in the works for 40 years. And I want to commend the developer for committing to joining this to Trinity Drive with what's going to end up being a pretty expensive section of road there in phase 12. And so just if there's anybody who's paying attention to lives in the neighborhood, that's coming and will help to accommodate a lot of the traffic there. So I appreciate what y'all have done to plan for that for the future.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 11, consider a final plat for River Farms Phase 1B comprising approximately 24 acres located east of Toll Bridge Road.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is 1B1 and 1B2. Here are the different sections. They are connected to each other and also connected to 1A. Of course, this isn't a Belton extraterritorial jurisdiction, so there are no zoning in this area, but we do have a MUD agreement that has certain restrictions that needs to be met. All of the lots in this area are proposed for 45 feet wide with a depth of 120, and it meets our area requirements that we have set aside in that development agreement. Water and sewer are provided by the city of Belton. An 8-inch line is proposed and an 8-inch sewer line is proposed to serve this area. All streets in this area are also 50 foot of right of way, 31 feet of pavement. In this area, access will be provided from, and I apologize, I forgot, 1B1 comprises of 15 acres. It has 5 blocks, 84 residential lots, and 2 lots to be owned and maintained by the HOA. And this is 1B, that's 7.65 acres, 3 blocks, 1 residential lots, and 2 lots owned by the HOA. Access will be from the existing access off of this roadway is called White Sage that comes into the neighborhood. White Sage and also Red Thistle that will be on the south side of this area will be the main access roads for this. Parkland dedication at full build out, River Farm will have 2 private parks, open space that totals 67 acres of open space. Staff recommends approval of this plat pending on staff comments dated February 27th. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, and also the applicant is here should you have any questions for them.
Comments, questions, or a motion?
Just rolling on. I'll make a motion to approve as is.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the final plat for the River Farm Phase 1B1, 1B2. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes 6-0. All right, we will be adjourning into executive session, but as far as the public meeting, we stand adjourned. It's 6:31. I'm going to go ahead and read the executive session language into the record. Thank you all for being here and for your patience this evening.